once last week. So there we go. Boom. Anthony, look, we got a special highway edition, it looks like, from you today, huh?
I am in the city, unfortunately, that doesn't have a playoff team in the playoffs. And I'm going home tonight to a city that has a playoff team in the city. I might be in a city called Boston, which I love. And actually, when they won the Super Bowl, when they won the World Series, I was really excited. But unfortunately, they're sitting home. And tonight, I'm going to watch Game 5 of the American League Series, and hopefully, the Yankees win.
All right, well, let's find out.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live.
That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. We're so glad for you to be here and to see a guy, me, who's never seen the sweet taste of victory because I'm a Mets fan. How are you, Anthony?
Good. It sounds like you didn't know what I was talking about. And I didn't mean to do the intro previous to the intro. I forgot that we had an intro.
Well, that's all right. You know, Anthony, you're traveling, you're on the road, you're trying to get to some meetings. And so we're doing today's show a little bit early. Peggy says, hey, go Yankees. I'm excited for you Yankee fans out there.
Yeah, we're doing a little early. I had a meeting this morning. I just had a conference call, and I tried to fit this in. So thank you for being so nice to me. And then I have another meeting, but I really appreciate it. You're a mensch.
Hey, it worked out really well because we had a last-minute switch. Our guests had to change dates, so we get a chance to go ahead and cover some of the big issues that we're seeing right there. Brett is saying, hey, great seeing you again. Yeah, great seeing you too, but go Yankees. Hey, it's all right. Somebody's got to win. If it's not going to be the Mets, at least it's the Yankees. And if you want to talk about winners, Anthony, I'm loving the new combination of Radisson Hotels and Resorts with Choice Hotels America. Now that Choice is holding the Radisson Legacy brands, well, things are getting a lot better for everybody, particularly those investors in brands like Radisson Red, Radisson Blue, Country Inns and Suites. You know what I'm talking about. And how cool is this, Anthony? I started going to the spiel. Dr. Producer Suzanne shows up backstage, immediately puts up the logos and stuff like that. Pretty impressive. And if you want to be impressed with yourself. Get a franchise with the good folks over at Choice Hotels and the Radisson brands. Whew. How are you, man?
Or get a PhD and you can be a doctor producer.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Daniel, it's good to see you, man. Ben says he's a night auditor from Belgium. How cool is that?
Belgium is one of my favorite places on earth, and night audit was my first job and my favorite job on earth. So I love you.
So, Ben, what's your strategy to get through the night? I'd be curious to know if it's different than what Americans might.
Okay,
might do.
Can I tell you what the strategy is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a crazy night manager like me that makes sure nobody sleeps. But you know, the secret to being a night auditor, at least for me, was to always find something to do, even when you weren't asked to do something like stocking linen or whatever it is. It's like, you know, I used to crucify the night security because I used to run the plaza that night, and the night security hated me because I would always find something that they didn't find, so they hated me. Or except my friend Steve Taplin, who's now the Four Seasons. Well, I don't know what he's doing now because Four Seasons closed. Yeah. But he was great. But yeah, most of them didn't like me.
Yeah. Oh well.
Shocking.
Yeah. Well, but you know, it's because you got that New York personality, and a lot of people don't necessarily get us New Yorkers.
Like, I'm hearing that, man. It's like, even in my meetings and stuff, it's like, you know, like, wow, he's intense. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm just talking about Jell-O. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, you know, it's a passionate subject. People really rally around it. Do you have classic cherry? Do you put it in a mold? Do you put fruit in it and then cook it? I don't know. All right. So Ben says he sleeps at daytime and uses guarana to keep awake. That's my secret. I've never heard of that before. I would think maybe sleeping in the daytime is probably what's helping you.
I didn't see what he said. What did he say?
He sleeps in the daytime, of course, and uses guarana to keep awake. That's not my secret. That's his secret. Never heard of that before.
What's guarana?
I don't know. Man, you're gonna have to let us know what that is. I could always Google it too. But
yeah, I worked night shift for a couple of years and I never got used to it. I loved it, but I never got used to it.
Yeah. No, I could never work those kinds of hours. Not for me. But when I was younger, when I was in college, I used to work like the 12 to 6 a.m. shift at my college dorm, right? You had to let people who come into the building and stuff. I would usually take a blanket and pillow and kind of hide out over there. Oh, it's natural caffeine. Thank you for looking that up, Dr. Producer Suzanne. We appreciate it. All right, so Anthony, I thought today, since we're on limited time, and we don't have a guest today, we should focus on some of the big issues that we're seeing out there. And last week, Anthony, we had a great opportunity to speak to the Hospitality Asset Managers Associations at their annual meeting in Chicago. Great meeting, but what I was most excited about was we got in Chicago just before the weather started to turn real bad, because it's like not a place I want to be suddenly right now.
Oh, did it change bad? I didn't even think
down in the 30s already. It's like
well, I tell you, I gave Deep Dish a run for its money. I said, let me try it. Let me go. I sat at one of the places everybody told me to go to, and listen, I'm sorry. It's not that it's not good, but I don't want cheese dip. I want pizza. And what Deep Dish is, literally, and I'm not saying this to be funny or even to be mean, because I really love Chicago. I love Chicago. But it's just like a lot of cheese. I took a picture of it on LinkedIn. I think I tagged you along. Yeah. And it was very much like dipping bread into cheese. Not
that's not the experience. That's not the experience I had. I went to another one of those companies, and we're going to talk about that in a later show. But I found mine to be really, really excellent. Not too much cheese. So I'm wondering if it's number one, the brand that you chose, and the particular pizza that you decided
Mariano.
to have.
It starts with an M. It starts with an M. It's right around the corner from the Virgin Hotel.
I don't know. Oh
no, G. Giordano's.
Yes, Illuminati's, Giordano's, Pizzeria Uno's. Pizzeria Uno's is the one that created the deep dish pizza.
You told me your friend who owns it. Your friend who owns it we were gonna have like lunch there, and we never had lunch there.
No, I had lunch there.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
When were we going to have lunch? You got in at like 7 p.m. on Thursday. We did the speaking gig the next day, and I was out to the airport for my wife's birthday. So,
well, I got to tell you something. One of the coolest things, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see it. And I was looking at the Virgin Hotel, and I've always wanted to see the hotel. And I'm sitting outside looking at my phone, looking at what we do. Is we look at LinkedIn to see if we know anybody.
Yep.
So I'm looking to see if I know the GM, so I can find out if I can get a tour. And as I'm sitting there, the guy taps me on the shoulder, young, good-looking, tall, 35-year-old guy. And he goes, Anthony Mercuri, what are you doing here? And I go, well, I'm looking for the GM. And he goes, well, that's me. And I turn the phone to him. I go, yeah, that's you. And so what was the surprise? What was the surprise is that he went to Cornell. And as we know, most of Cornell grads are in that asset management speaking gig that we did, not in the hotel. And to have a general manager as a Cornell grad who loves the operations really, really made me happy.
Yeah, that's great. So you got a tour of the place?
I got a tour of the place. I loved it very much. And what's interesting, I will just say, there's a big sign on a hotel with a name on it, and sometimes people don't like to stare at that name on a different hotel from their room. I'll just leave it at that.
I believe that people also have that same consideration sometimes in Las Vegas, but who knows? I don't know. That's just people.
No, but this is right in your face.
Boom! Like that, right?
It's 2 stories. It's 2 stories high, which is what, over 20 feet high, and it's got to be, I would say, a half a block long.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyway,
well, I loved it. You gotta go big league. That's for sure. But Anthony, one of the cool things that we did is we got a chance to meet with the hospitality asset folks, the people that are really in the trenches every day. And we did a fun presentation, taking a look back at some of the most interesting, informative interviews we had this year. But a lot of this conversation was also about looking forward. And one of the issues that we're seeing is people are starting to say that traditional financing is starting to clam up right now. We had multiple conversations with people, I feel, that was going down that path, right?
Right. And if you do find financing, you better have a lot of cash. It's like 80 cents to 20 cents.
Yeah, for sure. And what's really interesting in Stonehill's commercial real estate group, Stonehill CRE, says they put out $200 million of capital so far this year, expecting to do another $100 million in loan originations by year's end. And they're still targeting $500 million in transactions
but
for
they're looking
2023.
For equity? But is it equity or debt?
It's hold on. It's debt, but they're taking a look at things as they're looking at doing complex transactions with specialized types of financing and stuff like that over here. So I think that's why they're able to start doing alternative plans when traditional markets, I think, start to clam up. So I think this actually confirms what we're seeing, that a lot of the major banks they're just like, no. In fact, in a lot, yeah, go on. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, it's finish your thought, and then
I was saying, and all the conversations we had at this event were off the record, meaning we can talk about what we talked about. We just can't talk about whom and give any clues to that. Basically, they're saying a lot of the big banks that it's just from edict on high are just like, stop, it's done. We're not lending anymore right now to hospitality.
Right. Well, look at the landmines that are laid there right now for hospitality. And, if you look at the STAR data is great. The meetings are back. People are traveling. The occupancy, average rate, everything looks good. If you talk at some markets, everything is great. But when you're looking at home mortgages at 7.5%, which we haven't seen in years, when you're looking at a cost of eggs at $6, and you're looking at that you can't finance a new vehicle, people, are they going to start pulling back? And I think the answer is yes. And I think you're going to go back to the drive to vacations. I think people are going to go this summer, maybe more drive-throughs. A lot of people went to Europe this summer. Are they going to go this year, or are they going to do drive to vacations? If they do, that'll be great for us. It'll be great for the hospitality industry. But we don't know. The answer is we don't know. So there's a lot of red flags.
I was speaking to somebody last week. It's at a very high level with a firm that focuses on analysis of these types of issues. And they were extremely concerned that people for next summer are going to be taking that European vacation in lieu of doing one here in the United States. But in the higher end segment that he was referring to, it looks like people are going to take two different types of vacations. So yeah, take advantage of the powerful dollar when it comes to getting over to Europe right now, and then take that drive trip with the kids and stuff like that. I'm thinking next summer. Now, Anthony, interesting that you should mention this, because the American Hotel and Lodging Association, in coordination with Colibri Labs, put out a survey, and they're finding out that U.S. hotel leisure travel revenue is projected to end 2022 14% above 2019 levels, while hotel business travel related expenses is to come within 2019 levels by 1%.
Well, if you put an angry lion in a cage and you don't feed him, and then when he gets out of the cage, he's going to eat everything in its path. That's what you did to the economy, and everybody ate everything in their path. So it makes sense. Will that continue? That's yet to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the questions that I keep trying to pose, and again, in some off the record conversations that I was having at the HAMA event, was, did people blow the big money this summer? And what is that really going to look like in terms of pricing power for next summer? The answer that I'm getting back is not going to be a big issue, as group business now is really starting to come back and supplant it, which will ease the fears of leisure travel next summer not being as strong in terms of overall spend as it was this year.
Yeah, and like what we've been talking about, and I think that's right. That sounds right to me.
Yeah.
And because the group travel, I don't think it's going to slow up as long as there's no COVID and there's no other problem that prevents it, because like we've said before, your new office is the meeting room in Vegas or in Washington or in New York. That's your new office, because people aren't coming to the office as much. So to really gain that motivation and to really gain that team spirit, you've got to get together. Yeah. And a good way of doing that for those people that don't want to come in the office, you got to get them in the room, maybe somewhere else. And I think you're going to see more and more and more of it.
Bingo, because that is exactly the scenario that some of these people were citing there, Anthony.
You know what? And I wasn't even in those meetings, Glenn.
Dude, I was going to say, and Anthony was not in the room because he was stuck in traffic from O'Hare for about 45 hours getting to downtown.
2 hours. I was in the car with a cab driver, and he said to me, I decided not to take an Uber because the cabs are so easy to get, and I always want to help a cab driver. And I get in the car, and it's literally, I'm on the phone, so I wasn't paying attention. I look at my watch, and I'm like, or my clock, and I go, it's an hour and 15 minutes I'm in the car. So I get there. I called you and I say, dude, I've been here for an hour, 15 minutes. It took me over 2 hours to get to our hotel, which usually takes with no traffic, 25 minutes. And I asked the gentleman, I said, wow, that was long. He goes, I've been doing this 20 years. It's the longest trip I've ever taken from O'Hare.
Wow.
Lucky me.
Yeah. What a historic occasion. How lucky are you?
I hate to say it because it's rude, but the gentleman wasn't he was wearing a tank top. I don't know why. And he apparently doesn't believe on deodorant. And it was not a real healthy ride.
I think that's really funny coming from a guy who's probably rode the subway a lot in August, that you even think one guy is a problem.
Yeah, but well, actually, because I was a general manager young, I was able to get a spot in the city at a very young age. So I mostly drove in.
So do you think that is going to affect overall hotel rates next summer? Cab drivers that wear tank tops without the proper protection. All right. So
essentially,
Dr. Producer Suzanne actually has an interesting point. Those that stayed in luxury hotels this past year, maybe they'll continue to travel, but maybe not stay in a luxury hotel. Maybe they'll go, down a notch or two.
Well, I don't know. I think people that traveled in luxury hotels this year, maybe will just not travel as many days or as long. But people that travel luxury days, it's not like you went from making $200 a night and then you went and spent $1,200 a night. I don't know about that. I think luxury hotels, they have market. Again, in New York City, you have, the St. Regis, you have the Four Seasons, you have all the four-star hotels that are on a regular night are priced at $1,200 a night. And that's where they stay. They compete with each other. And then there's a new hotel called Arman, Arman, where our friend is, I don't know if I can announce it, but our friend is the musical director.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't. Yeah.
and that hotel is $4,000 a night, and they're not coming off the $4,000. So they're not looking for those people that were, and even the $1,200 aren't looking for the people that were scraping by on $200 and then went 1 year to $1,200. That's not their customer, so I don't think you're going to have that problem.
Agreed. Not only is it not their customer, it never was their customer. So I think what we're really talking about is, even though consumers don't realize it, I think they're talking about maybe trading an upscale for an upscale hotel, or an upscale for a mid-scale with food and beverage type of a thing. I think it's, and plus, I think you'll continue to see people from economy, rise up as well.
Well, really, what's now, like, everything from a 2.5 star to a 4-star is all the same. So I don't know what economy is anymore.
Yeah,
I stayed in an economy hotel, and I'm like, wow, this is a really nice hotel.
Yeah. So Rolando is saying F1 race in Vegas next year, November 2023. Hotel rates are up to the moon. Yeah, it's a pretty significant event when they get more than like CES and Electric Daisy Carnival weeks and stuff like that.
F1, my friend's son writes for the Wall Street Journal, and he's doing F1 in Austin, I guess, this weekend. I guess they're doing F1 in Austin. I guess F1's becoming really big because there was something on Netflix, some show on Netflix.
Right.
Of that kind of racing, and apparently it's becoming really, really big in the States. I used to, well, not used to, but once in a while I would race those cars upstate, and man, there's nothing like them.
No, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I've seen like the race in Monaco and stuff like that, which is pretty freaking cool. But when Vegas does it, that's going to be something really super special. And speaking of Vegas, Anthony, what's really cool is the Venetian. They just announced, the ownership there just announced a massive $1 billion renovation to touch every single piece of that property. How cool is that?
Wow. So they're going to spend one night's room revenue to renovate. Great.
But just so everybody, just so everybody can put it into perspective, the Venetian, when it first opened in 1999, cost approximately, rounding up, $1.5 billion. to build all of that, not the Palazzo part that came later, but the original structure, $1.5 billion. Now in today's 22 years later, now they're building the MSG. They partnered with MSG to build the Sphere. And that arena is for 20,000 seats is costing $1.87 billion.
How much Resorts World cost? How much Resorts World cost?
It was the most expensive one. I believe it was $4.8 billion.
That's what I remember.
To build that.
I remember $4 to $5 billion.
Yeah, which is insane how much these things cost now, because when Steve Wynn originally built Bellagio, I think it was $1 billion and change, not much more than that.
But listen, the reason they're doing it is because, again, you tell me we're opening an envelope in Vegas, I'm going.
Yeah.
You tell me we're opening an envelope in someplace else, and I'm like, are we getting paid? Are we doing it? What do we want to do it?
Yeah.
Is it helping our podcast? I'll do it.
Yeah.
But if you all you have to say is we're going to Vegas, like, okay, and I get there and you go, I just want you to say hello in Vegas. Hello.
Yep.
I'm good. So Vegas is a different world, and they wouldn't be spending that money if the money wasn't being generated. And and again, I think you got to give all the applause to Vegas for the way they handled COVID. Shut down first, opened up first, and then killed it when they opened up, and they did it the right way.
And I will tie it back to what we were just talking about with group business and the meetings industry, because I think this $1 billion being spent specifically because they've got that Sands Expo Center, and they're putting a lot of money into making sure that property can compete against that sparkling brand new Las Vegas Convention Center. Mandalay this week also announced $100 million to rebuild, refresh and reinvigorate their conference center. So I think meetings in Vegas are now inextricably linked, thanks to Sheldon Adelson's work back in the 1990s, that's really going to be the powerhouse of the city again for time to come.
And I love seeing the brands, the Dream and the Fontainebleau coming into Vegas. Yeah. That's going to be nice.
Yeah, that's going to be great too. It's so much fun to see the Fontainebleau project finally coming together. Since it's been sitting vacant, I think since 2008 or 2009. How crazy is how crazy is that? It's been vacant
almost as long as my brain.
That's great. So a couple of more stories we have. Ritz-Carlton, let's talk a little bit more luxury today. They just finally launched their super yacht. What do you think about that?
I don't know, man, but sign me up, man. I'm all about super yachts. I mean, I love the cruises. I love the big cruises. But if I can get on a big cruise right now, I would go into their exclusive little corner where they have different restaurants in their own little section. That would be my vibe.
Yep.
So I might as well get on a super yacht instead, which has that whole vibe throughout the whole boat.
I would love it. It's only 298 people per trip. How intimate.
And it wasn't crazy expensive. What I heard, it was like, not that it was, right. You have to have money, but it's like 15 grand or something.
It's not ridiculous.
You go to Disney World, it's 15 grand.
Funny you should say that. You could, I'm looking at, I saw a story today. Ritz-Carlton's new luxury yacht with fare starting at $4,600 per person. Disney cruises cost more than that, or about the same as that.
Going to two parks costs more than that in Disney.
Yeah, dude, you could get for one day costs like $5,000 to get the host if you want to have somebody. So this price point might be a little low. I bet you they could go up with this. 298 people.
Yeah, I think it's a Jedi mind trick. I think it's to get people to get interested, because if you look at it and they sell like 10 of those at that rate, well, you got 100,000 people looking at it.
Right. Yes.
When you get there, you're like, oh, it's only 8,000. All right, I'll pay 8,000.
Yes. The ship sailed on October 15th, and it's now regularly out there. Plus, they probably could upsell you on a lot of luxury stuff. Like,
dude, that's a cruise ship we should do a podcast from.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I don't think they need our podcast, but we need their cruise ship.
We need them though. We need to see this
place.
So funny?
You know what's so funny? That ship is probably a tugboat compared to Bezos' ship.
Yeah. For truth. Also in the luxury sector, Four Seasons has announced a brand new president and chief executive officer. He was formerly CEO of Hyatt Hotels Apple Leisure Group, and now he's coming on here. His name is Alejandro Reynal, and he started yesterday.
It's interesting. It's interesting. They've had They had a president for a very long time, and then I think they had a president recently for what?
A
8
couple
years,
of,
9
I
years?
think, a couple of shorter term ones.
Yeah,
Really,
and now, and I think, and again, I'm surmising. I don't know,
Yep.
just based on the meetings I've been in, or the conferences I've been to, or the keynotes I've done, or whatever. I am going to surmise that they went all service, then they went all about real estate, and now they're going to fall in between, because they went hard in the paint on real estate after it was all about service, and now I think they're going to split the difference. I could be wrong.
Yeah. You sure? Yeah. I think you're going to be. I think you're right. You are most of the time. All right. So let's see. One more story. You have time for one more story? Because I know you got to hit. You got to go to a meeting.
My meeting's at 12:15. I'm good.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about Booking.com. Now, they've made 7 predictions for the creative reimagination of travel for 2023. Now, this is a little bit more focused on British people, but I'm curious to see what you think in terms of some of these trends that they're citing out there. All right.
Can we just can we do like speed round? Yes, no, yes, no.
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yes.
Okay.
No. Preppers in paradise, camouflage cabins, campfire cuisine, compasses going off grid.
Yes.
Virtual voyagers doing VR trips instead of going out.
No.
I agree with that. Delight in the discomfort zone. Well, it's bottled up energy, pent up frustration, new lease on life. People want to dive into new cultures and have new experiences head first.
Yes.
All right. Glamorizing the good old days. Brits intend to carve out travel experiences that harken back to simpler times. Nostalgic getaways provide the 3 of living the glory days of the past.
Not only yes, but F yes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Peace and pleasure pilgrimages, fully immersive, no holds bars approach to attaining peace and pleasure, including less conventional ways to feel bliss, meditation, mindfulness, etc., etc.
Yes.
Yep. From daily grind to great company escape, work from anywhere policies, traveling for business is back on the agenda. But unlike before, they're seeking more time for camaraderie with those people in the office, but away from the office.
Double, triple F yes.
Yep. All right. Saving to splurge.
Go ahead.
This is the last one.
Go ahead.
Nope, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you've said so far. I wish I could. It would make for a better internet show. But what are you going to do? With the background of the global economic uncertainty, travelers continue to prioritize travel, but will be more mindful on how to make the most of their travel budget. People will still place carefree getaways at the top of the agenda, but being budget conscious is key.
100%.
All right, cool. And that is it. Brett says experiences. I know. Sorry, Suzanne. I know Suzanne put this up here before, but I was reading off a list and didn't see it. Experiences, absolutely. I really think we've been in the experience economy now for a good 15 years. That was post-Great Recession. We moved from a materialist economy to an experience economy, in my opinion. And I'm not really surprised. This is just taking it even to the next level. Now more people understand that experiences is really what we want to get out of life.
You know why? And I'm going to going back to, turn of the century, of the 20th century, is storytelling around the radio and listening to the radio and stories was what people loved, right? People loved Roosevelt's sci-fi chats. People love stories. People think that, when I do speaking, we do stories. I like storytelling.
Yeah.
And experiences get you to tell stories. You hear stories when you're having the experience, and you also come home and have stories. Right. I think we're all done with bringing home sweatshirts and tchotchkes. We want to bring home stories. So that's why I think, again, love Disney World, but I really I can go to Disney World 7 times and have no new stories, right? But if you go someplace else and it's an experience that you really never experienced before, you have something that's so much more vital than a material thing. You have a great story. Like when you sit, and I've said this before, but when during Sandy and my kids were at Grandpa's house, and they're laying on the floor in his living room, in a small living room, when I said, okay, it's time to come back to our house because now we rebuilt the basement and it's safe to come back, because after Sandy took away my neighborhood basically, and it was safe to come back a couple of weeks later to our house. My kids go, can we spend another couple of nights with Grandpa? We love his stories. Now, even though we see Grandpa every Sunday and we're very close to Grandpa, all those stories that he was just telling at 10, 11 o'clock at night comes from experiences, coming here from as an immigrant and have experiences. So I think this experimental vacations we're going to lose the word. We're going to lose, I used the wrong word, but we're going to lose that word because it's just going to be what people want.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree. And Anthony, that's really what it's all about. My family and I were always seeking out those experiences. And I know so many families that want to do that because you want to have those moments that are going to create real memories that you can then come home and have those kind of bragging rights. You're not going to believe what I did. That's why getting access to things is so important. And that's why a lot of hotel companies and airline companies are now bringing back those types of things where you might be able to, you might be able to utilize points to go do batting practice for the Red Sox or something like that, right?
Listen,
these are the types of things that are interesting.
Yeah, my daughter went to Vegas. She wanted to go to the pool and she wanted to go to nice dinners, and she happened to take a trip out to the Grand Canyon, and that's all she talks about. She doesn't really talk about Vegas. She talks about Grand Canyon because she wasn't expecting to do that. At the last minute, she decided to do it, and she wasn't expecting it, and it's all she talks about.
Yeah, well, I mean, nature is amazing. Going out and experiencing new cultures is amazing. Architecture is amazing. So many amazing things for people to get out there and explore. And I think once people start to do that, they get addicted and they want more and more of that.
You know what? Also amazing, you, Glenn. You're amazing.
Aw, thanks, Anthony. I think you're absolutely amazing too. Any final words before we head towards the big finale?
No,
today?
man, it was fun. It was fun seeing you there, and
yeah,
when we're on stage, like you always do okay, this is what we're gonna do. You're very articulate. You're very thorough in your analysis of whatever you're talking about. And I'm like, anybody have any questions? And then we just go off on these tangents, and so both parts are great.
Yeah, I love it. I have so much fun working with you on stage. While you're thinking about it, why not have Anthony and I come to your event and do something? Drop me a line, Glenn at novacancynews.com. We'll talk about it. Show us a little love, people. And also another way you could show us, Go ahead.
You know what it is? It's like, better than anybody. I cannot stand these regular talking head kind of conventions. If you don't make the audience laugh and you don't get the audience on their feet and you don't get them to stop you at the door and say, wow, that was funny. Or, hey, I didn't learn that. I didn't know that. When you're doing Q&As, a lot of stuff comes up that you wouldn't have prepared for. And so you have the good stuff that you prepare for and people love, but then you also have those Q&As that you just get into a lot of fun. And I mean, it's something I love doing. I would do it, every day. I just love it.
I love it too. There's nothing more fun than being on stage with that sense of the unknown. You never know what's going to happen. You have to think quickly on your feet to keep people engaged and have a good time.
And I always see people I know. There was a gentleman named Dan King that was there.
Yeah.
When I was an asset manager back in New York, and he was my regional. So as an asset manager, for those that don't know, you report into the ownership, you work for the ownership. And the regional works for from the management company works for the brand. So he worked for Star at the time. And he was one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. And as soon as I saw him, I immediately said, oh my God, Dan King, I love you. And from the stage, I said, because they were all asset managers. Hey, I used to be an asset manager. Dan, I was a good one, right? And Dan said, yes, you were, Anthony. In other words, yeah, not really.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy. One of the best. And what that's great about great people is, everybody feels the same way about that guy. Like he's consistent in his career.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. All right, you ready to wrap it up, buddy?
Let's wrap it up.
All right, everybody. If you're watching us, why not give us a listen? Find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all of those bad boys. We are there. Even Amazon, wherever you are, we are there too. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. If you're listening to us, why not watch us on Facebook, LinkedIn, all those other good places too.
Bad boys, bad boys, bad boys. The longest running show on TV is Cops. Bad boys, bad boys.
It is?
Remember? Yep, longest running show. When I was at the Plaza in 1990, it was, I think, their second season. because the producer.
We have to look this up because The Simpsons has been on since like 1988 or 89.
Maybe the longest reality show.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow with answers to this question as well as all the important ones. I'll be coming live from the Hotel Nyack, Joie de Vivre Hotel. So we're going to talk a little about that. And then Thursday, I'll be in Pittsburgh. How cool is that?
Okay, and I'll be coming live from you from a car somewhere in Westchester. And then I'll be coming live from you Thursday.
Yep.
Probably my home office.
All right. Remember, tomorrow's we're recording early in the morning and we'll run it at noon tomorrow. Tomorrow
we are? What time?
8 a.m. Remember? 8 a.m.
I remember now.
Yep. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. Well, we won't see you, but you'll see us.